individuals throughout Texas obtain parole and fight parole revocations. We protect those who have fallen short of perfection from the wrath of those who believe they have attained it. For more information about Gary Cohen and his associates, Alan Bennett and Gene Anthis, you can find it at the website, parolelaw.com. You may also contact them at 512 476 6201.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Los Estados Unidos de América. Good morning to the entire world. Good morning to every nook and cranny where our 100,000 watt transmitter sends its signals, and those still using FM radios are just gobbling it up because it's yet another form. Good morning to all our internet users, listeners, streamers throughout the world. You know, we are here. We aim to provide some positive affirmation, some acknowledge that we are empowered. And good morning to Lizard Queen. Good morning to the first person on the chat this morning. We have a lot of great things to talk about today. But before we get started, we go to the one and only Genius Howard and Genius Jack in the studio. Buenos días, mis hermanos. ¿Cómo están?
And good morning to you, Egberto. I had a brief interruption in Arnie Arneson, as we talked about earlier this morning. You know, it's frustrating for us because Arnie's got such a good message to get out. And it's
Yes.
very frustrating to us to not get that message. And it's very frustrating to me to not be able to figure out what's wrong. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed the smooth jazz interlude this morning. I know Harry did because I played some songs for him. And I think I'm actually creating a monster with Harry because he calls me all the time for smooth jazz, which is perfectly fine. Good morning, Harry, and good morning to Perth, Australia, because there's got to be somebody listening down there. Jack, what you got? You got some wisdom for us today?
Yeah, a little bit. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I'm great this morning. How you doing, my brother?
All right, I read your news thing this post this morning. It looks like Trump's going to skate again.
No.
The real danger of Trump is all the judicial appointments he made. He made 1,700 during his term. Is the
Look,
appeals court judge one of them? The court dropped his bond from 454 million to 175 million. Poor, innocent, privileged Trump. The danger is when they close the trap door on democracy, the judges will be in place to back up authoritarian rule.
You know, that was going to be one of my rants this morning about the lowering of the bond. And I think there's probably the MAGAs are getting very upset and may become violent. We don't know. So it kind of gives them a little bit of a break, but $175 million, that is a lot of bread, man. If
yes.
somebody dropped 175 million on us, we could operate this station into infinity
No
for that
kidding.
much money.
Oh
And
man.
he still has to go before the Court of Appeals if they hear the case. They may not. They may say no. They did a good job the first time, so there's no clerical errors. There's no judicial errors here. You're going to have to pay up. So he just staved it off for right now. But the inevitable is coming for Donald Trump. 91 felony counts. I mean, if five of them stuck, he would be screwed, and we would be well. I can't say that, but we would be off the hook for having a dictator, even just for one day. That's what he says. So beware and be looking forward to at least five of those 91 sticking because something's got to stick.
Well, I am hoping that something sticks just because he broke the law, and for those who break the law, I mean, we should all be treated equally. Good morning, Alistair Waters in Conroe, Texas. Another person on the chat with us this morning. Now, I I did a piece, and you were part protagonist in the piece, Howard, that I did on my afternoon show. I made a little clip
Oh,
using a few pieces from our show yesterday, where we talked about
my,
this, and
my
etc. I
rant.
think you're gonna like it. I mean, it's a again, I needed to put that clip in for 3 o'clock audience to hear it, And so you're one of the protagonists on that clip, along with Eddie
Well,
Glaude and
fire
a
it
few
off.
others. Yeah, I'm gonna fire
Yeah,
it
let's
off in a
hear it.
minute. But before I go to firing off Harry as one of the protagonists in our 3 o'clock show, I want to say, folks, look, well, I tell you what, before I fire it off, I see that two calls are in. I'm going to take the two calls first because the segment, I forgot to queue it up, and I'm queuing it up as those calls come in right this minute. Sometimes you get so excited to doing something, you forget, oh, automation system. You got to queue it, though. You got to queue it. You got to queue it. Come on in, Harry. How you doing this morning?
Oh, good morning, Huberto, Professor Willis. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack. Thank you, Howard, for playing Parkside Shuffle. When I called a little earlier, I asked Jack whenever you get a chance to play that song, that Peter White song I've been asking for a while. Don't wait for me. It's on the Dreamwalk album. I think I said Moonwalk, but anyway, I want to get to talking about Donald Trump. I'm disappointed that the judge reduced it from 454 to 175 million. Really disappointed in that. I was talking about this with my brother Alan yesterday, and Alan just said, "Harry, you just want to see them go in there with the batter ram and just batter ram Trump Towers and his hotels." Absolutely, I want that man embarrassed because he has hurt a lot of people in his life, and he just has stiffed a lot of people. And let's see, what was the other thought I had about? Oh, well, at least the Stormy Daniels case is going to start on April 15th, and they've been talking about it. And I did hear Trump mention one other thing. He said that Letitia James is a disgrace to this country. So why is she a disgrace? Because she's doing her job, and she found you accountable and guilty of mortgage fraud and tax fraud. And I enjoyed your show yesterday when you were talking about the tax codes. I didn't really have anything to say about that, but I enjoyed all the callers and how you broke a lot of that stuff down, because we do need a progressive tax code in this country.
Thank you, brother Howard. I'm not Howard. Harry, thank you so kindly for your call, my brother.
How's your wife and your daughter doing?
My wife is still very weak and sick. She still needs some, we are here supporting her, but she's getting better. She's not in the hospital. She went to see the doctor yesterday, and she just have to get over that double hit that both yeah.
I prayed
But
for
thank
you
you.
when I was in
I,
Sabbath. I
you know
prayed
what?
for you, family, and I'm going to pray for you tonight when I go to
Thank
my
you,
recharge.
brother. I appreciate all of you. I've been getting a whole lot of calls in that says, "Hey, how's she doing?" I appreciate all of you. You guys are some wonderful, wonderful friends. Anyway, thank you, Harry. You have a wonderful day. Let me jump to Joe.
Keep bringing the truth. Take care.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Joe. Good morning, Joe. How are you doing this morning? Is this Oilman Joe?
Yeah, Joe, big oil, buddy. What's up?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, my brother? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, I'm out there making the economy go round, man.
Actually, you're doing a good job, Joe. You're doing a good job making the economy go around. I don't know if you heard the show yesterday when I told you one of my good friends who is a lawyer at one of the oil companies came and she brought me some food and she said, "Here, I want to see you eat. This is bought with oil money. Are you going to eat it?" And I said, "Of course." She's a great woman. She's a great woman. Go ahead.
Good deal. Let me see. I didn't know that Trump derangement syndrome was contagious. Egberto, I see it now that your geniuses are infected with it as well. This is terrible. But something that bugged me over the weekend was just the distance between the Democratic Party, in the 80s and the Democrat Party now. Is startling. When I say Trump is really a Democrat, that's what I mean. He has all the values of like a Democrat 20 years ago, but the party has moved so extremely far left after Obama, right? That it's unrecognizable now. And really the hypocrisy is what I wanted to talk about.
Joe, I tell you, Joe, guess what? Are you at the bus station already, or can you? I want to keep talking to you, but I want to play this one piece from yesterday that's going to tie into the Trump derangement syndrome as you see it, and then talk to you after this. It's about a 4 minute piece. Can I play that and then come back to you and put you on hold and come back to you?
Okay, I'll be here.
All right, great. Thank you, brother. Let me go ahead and play this piece, and then we'll get right back to Joe, because I really want to, what Joe is talking about, the difference in the Democratic Party, etc. I really want to talk to him about that. He's going to take over my damn show again, but it's important what he just what he just brought in is very important. So let's go ahead and play this piece. This morning, our studio engineer Howard, he said, he was waiting to see what happened to Donald Trump with the bond. And I said, you know what? I don't hold much hope that he's going to have to pay it. And, because, who the wealthy kind of look out for each other. I want to play that, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I'm anxiously awaiting the Donald Trump bond thing today. This should be very interesting what happens. I mean, is somebody going to ride in like the cavalry and throw down $454 million to save the Donald? I don't think so.
I think he's going to be saved. I'm sorry. The guy is going to be, I think rich people are going to come to the rescue, because even as bad as Trump is, what they see in him is they don't want this is my opinion only, folks. I don't think they ever want to see a super rich person that is in the top X% of us to have a problem, because they look in the mirror and say, oh, suppose the masses come for me. We can't set that precedent. That's my thought. But and lo and behold, guess what happens? This happens.
I'm being told right now that that bond, that $500 million bond that had been set and that the former president had to deal with today, has now been reduced to $175 million. So that $465 million plus bond that he was looking at has now been reduced. As of right now, we're getting this breaking news. This appeals court allowing the former president to post a smaller bond of $175 million within 10 days.
Jose, it tells me something that you and I have talked about before, and that is the playbook is different for former President Trump. We were literally talking about this the last time you and I discussed this case. I expect for them to do something for him that's different than what you see for everybody else when they go to court. So here, he's given more time to pay less money. That's what it comes down to.
And Tristan, so what does that process look like in the courtroom?
Do we even need to ask? I mean, honestly, this is so infuriating. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know if I care what the process is that these judges are arriving at. Whatever it is, it's flawed. I can tell you that much. I mean, David put it well. This is a different process for this person. We have decided that he gets his own private court of justice. He has a private plane. He has private clubs that he lives in. Apparently, he basically fashioned himself his own private militia to try to take over the Capitol. Now he's getting his own private system of justice. This is an absolute travesty. It would not happen for anybody else. Anybody else, it would be like, sorry, buddy, you lost, pay up. For him, he gets his own set of rules.
I can't blame David Henderson. I can't blame the other guy that spoke. There are two justice systems in this country. And some people get over and over and over, breaks and breaks and privilege and privilege. Eddie Glaude said it best. I want you to listen to this.
I think it's so clear to me that the failure to hold Donald Trump accountable over the course of his life has led this man to be able to think that he can act with impunity, that he can act without being held responsible for anything. The idea that Paul Manafort, given what Andrew just laid out, can re-enter politics boggles my mind. And to be honest with you, and I know this may sound a bit, obsessive on my part, damn white men get breaks, man.
Please.
I mean, but could you imagine anybody else being able to do this? Whether it's Trump or Manafort or whomever, it just blows my mind, Mike.
Yes, it is obvious. There are two justice systems in this country. One hopes that someday it will be really a blind justice. We spend a lot of time now. Before I get to Joe and Howard, I just want to say this. To me, the big stark example of this is Trump came right after Obama. Obama was a guy that followed what America says is the family values way. One wife, two children with one woman, dedicated to the wife, dedicated to the things he does, honorably serve. All these things this man did. And he got the wrath of a large percentage of this country, not just on policy. If it were on policy, that would be understood. But he got the wrath of much of America for just who he was. They caricatured him much differently than they do with Biden. I mean, he followed the rules. He got educated. He did all these things. But still, if you look at the level of respect, you see a guy the caricature that they make of black men is who Donald Trump is. Several baby mamas, steal and cheat. I mean, I'm not saying that is. I'm just saying the caricature, not the reality. The caricature that they make of black men is are the things that Trump does, and that never sticks to Trump. And if you are looking at things through the eyes of any POC, that is something that is blatantly obvious, that it comes out and like, my God, imagine if I had done that. My God, imagine if XYZ had done that. And that is what so often we say, please see this, see through my eyes. But anyway, before I go to Joe, hey, so you were you see, I told you started that segment, Howard. It was great because it was somewhere in the middle, man. Go ahead.
I'm just sitting here listening to all of this, and I know there's a lot of outrage about this, and there should be, because there are two sets of rules, and Donald Trump has never been held accountable for anything. So, he's got a very big karmatic debt to pay off.
Yes.
And this is what's coming back to him. He wants to be president so bad. This reminds me of the Mitt Romney story. When Mitt Romney came to town, Mitt Romney ran Bain Capital.
Yes.
Who would buy up weak companies and just destroy them and put people out of work. And he wanted to be president so bad, and it looked very presidential. And at the time, Obama was very embattled. I mean, the public opinion of poor old Barack Obama at that particular point in the election was, he's going to lose to Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's a powerhouse. Look at this. Not so.
Right.
Because Romney, his karma was too bad to be president. It was something he really, 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 really wanted, and he couldn't get it because he had destroyed all of those lives along the way.
And you know what, Howard, we have to make it obvious. I really want to talk to Joe because I want to itemize some things with Joe here. So come on in, Joe, because here's the deal. Joe thinks that myself, you, Jack, are suffering from the Trump derangement syndrome. What I want to do is show that he probably does as well. But let's go ahead. Brother Oilman Joe, talk to me.
Hey man, so that was absolutely laughable. It really was just pretty disgusting. But anyway,
can I ask before you go into your disgust? No. I'm giving you all the time you want. I really am. I just want to ask a question. I just want to ask a question. Did you hear just forget about the segment that I played, but after the segment I said something specific. Had Obama had several baby mamas, had Obama did all the things that Trump, I'm not talking about what we alleged had done, but what he did. do you think he would have had the support of the amount of people that Donald Trump has right now?
I don't know, man. Why don't you ask somebody else that question? I don't really care. You know, that's playing the race card, if you ask me.
No. It's not. I mean, if we show discrepancies in how people are treated based on pigmentation, it's not playing the race card. It's just playing how it is. And
it's
how is it?
perpetuating racism in this country, dude. It's
How,
perpetuating.
Joe? Do you think? Let me ask you.
You're telling people they're victims.
Joe,
And
no,
over.
I am not. I am not. Look, I'm a black man. I wrote a book, the Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. I would love to send you a copy of that book. I'm not selling it. I'd love to send you a copy because, like I said, I would like people to see things through the eyes of somebody who is living it, not just getting mad when you bring it up, but see it through the eyes of somebody who lives it that you probably won't see unless, you know, and I can't blame you for not seeing, but when I open your eyes to see it.
You don't know anything. You don't know anything about me or where I've been. Or
I understand that, but I also
bottom of
know.
this world.
I understand that. I understand that I don't know anything about you. Likewise, you don't know anything about me other than what I say. So the only way we can know about each other is us talking about what happens to each without fearing that if I tell you what happened to me as a black man, that you don't say I'm pulling the race card. You see what I'm saying? In other words, I'm open to listen to your point of view. I'm open to,
You're talking about baby mama and throwing up these terms and comparing Obama and Trump. Dude, I don't know why I bothered to call here today. At first, I waited on for 4 minutes, and now I got to listen to you telling me how it is. I just wanted to throw my opinion out there, right?
I don't mind you throwing your opinion. I thought we were having a conversation where I could ask you questions and you can ask me the same. That's all. But go ahead and make your point that you called in for specifically. And then but I still want you to think about what I said though.
Of course.
But make your point. Go make your point.
Yeah, it was over the weekend, and I read that I read lots of things from all over the internet, right? Mostly as much data as I can get, and maybe some analysis, some trending, some reports. But I stay away from the high level narrative, right? I prefer to kind of read my own data and avoid the narrative, right? Which is where I suspect a lot of progressives start with the narrative because it's easy to digest. And now there are all these tools, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, right? That give you the narrative right on the top. The newspapers are gone. All that's gone. So what struck me over the weekend was just the hypocrisy of the hypocrisy of progressives, right? I call them communists because they subscribe to that theory that Obama is like, you didn't build that theory, right?
Right.
The event I'm telling you about is there's this guy. He was a hippie once upon a time. His parents were communists. He was a communist for a while and a hippie. And I think his name is David Horowitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a couple of, he's written several books, and he's got a 501c2 or C3 tax exempt status, the same as Pacifica does. The same as Pacifica does, except in this over the weekend, the IRS notified him that they were revoking that status because he reported on Hillary Clinton's data breach years and years ago and influenced an election. And they said that no nonprofit, if you look at the IRS statute, no nonprofit can endorse or disparage any individual candidate. And I thought, well, I've heard the general manager of this station disparaging Donald Trump. I hear you guys do it all the time, and no one's challenging your tax exempt status, but they're going to shut down a dissenting voice, just like Obama did when the IRS searched for Tea Party, conservative, patriots. They searched for those words, and they would audit the hell out of those people and revoke their tax exempt status, like in 2013. That was shown. So that's just one example of the insane amount of hypocrisy in this country right now. And what's going on against Trump is lawfare. There's no other word for it, right? That you never before. You guys think he's getting a pass? What in the world? He'll be lucky if he doesn't get killed or die in prison, right? You've got people who ran their whole platform. Letitia James, her whole platform was, I'm going to get Trump on something. That was her platform. And now she's got to deliver, right? So she's going to throw how many counts at him? Georgia, how many counts at him? If the dude was dirty, something would stick. It would have stuck a long time ago. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Biden crime family, the kid, right? The kid, they offer the kid a plea agreement. Oh, you're going to plead guilty to this charge. But on page 2, they're giving him immunity for anything he did or will ever do. Like, come on, people, wake up. Right?
Okay. All right. I gave you a whole 4 minutes to say this.
Trump
Okay.
ain't
Here.
in it either. Thank you for the time.
No, Joe, don't go. I mean, if you have a conversation, what you should do is have a conversation. And you get all riled up. What I'm trying to tell you is you don't hear me riled up with you, do you? We have to learn to have that. Wait. We have to learn to have a conversation without being riled up. Being riled up prevents us from digesting what other people's are going through. And that's what I'm saying with you as well, Joe. The reason I let you go with your thing, there were a lot of wrong things that you said, but it's out there. What you said is out there. The question is, how do I get you for the things that I'm saying you're wrong about? How do I get you to change that tunnel vision of seeing those things? I mean, I have to be able to get to you. How do I get there? I have to build some sort of a trust in you, right?
Yeah, and it's a give and take too. You got to recognize truth.
It's always a give and take, and I take a lot. So let me just say, but I because we've been on for so long, I'm not going to finish this conversation because you're a regular caller, so we can do this over time. But again, a lot of what you say, we're going to talk about those things, some of those things issue by issue. The thing about the 501c3s getting attacked from the left is out there, and they gave individual stories and try to make it a blanket story. The thing about going after Trump and Trump not ever being getting paying for the things that he's done. Well, the piece that I did before talk about the two different forms of justices, but the thing that now is personal to me is sort of when you imply that if I ever talk about the racial things that have happened to me, that somehow I'm playing the race card. That's the reason I wrote my new book called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, because in this 100 and something pages, I'm able to give it corroborated incident after incident. And when people check it out, it's like, oh my God, I'm seeing it through your eyes. That's what it's all about. So what I'm saying, Joe, over time, we'll talk. But right now, I got to go to the other callers. And thank you for calling in. I think I've given you your hearsay on KPFT, which is a duty of this show. All right?
I appreciate it, Egberto. I look forward to reading your book, man. Have a great day.
You take care, brother. All right, let's go to Donald. Come on in, Donald.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning.
Today?
Good. I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, it reminds me of that Willie Nelson song, Always on My Mind. There's your Trump. He's always on your mind.
Let me tell you something, because with regards to Joe and actually Trump, right? There's this guy that came on, the former RNC chair. He is upset. He is mad. He's saying the reason a lot of people don't get to see all the positive that's occurring in this country, including what Biden has done to help a large percentage of the MAGA folks, specifically in Appalachia and other places, they don't know that all the great things that brought them through not only the pandemic but beyond came from progressive policies. They don't know that, he said, because since 2015, there's not a day goes by that Trump is not prevalent in the news. Okay? And and when he said that, I was like, Damn, that's true. And I'm guilty too. Can I stop talking about it? And there is a call, a great supporter of KPFT here that tells me all of the time, stop talking about Trump. But my God, I don't know if we can. But anyway, Donald, continue.
Okay, your privacy policies work because I checked y'all out and I did contribute, but you can't say anything.
Right.
The 501c3, that's why you take your host hat off for anybody that's unclear on that. So y'all keep doing what you're doing. But what I'm getting at is I woke up in Bizarro land. I feel like that Superman hero that's in Bizarro land because I see New York City, I see the Statue of Liberty, and I see the people in New York. Now, there's a different New York because in one New York, we have bail bond reforms and everything else. If you're a newcomer and you have less pigment or more pigment or you're in between, you can attack cops, get set out the next day and head to California and you don't get prosecuted. So why does Trump even have to post bail if the criminals, but I know they're newcomers, so they don't understand the law. And I'm not talking about all the other ones because I like immigration. It doesn't bother me one bit. And our system is screwed all the way around. But how come it's good for one and not for the other?
And you know, I think that and here's the thing, Donald. I think one of the biggest failures of our educational system is not teaching civics as it should, because if those people who got civics in school understand, while on the outside it seems like some people are getting a break and others are not, and Trump in his case had to come up with this particular bond, etc., that they don't get how the system actually functions. By the way, it does need modification in certain areas. Like, I don't believe in bond, period. In cash bonds, I think cash bonds is a thing that favors the rich. In the case of Donald Trump, it is even actually proven, right? Because what happens is, the reason that a lot of rich people do the following: they can outlast you by appealing and all these other things, right? The reason Letitia came for that bond is to ensure that over the years it's going to take for that appeal to go through, that Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to do some magical legal things with his assets, transferring them into estates and other things to keep it away from the woman who won the case if she wins again on appeal. There are all these reasons, logical reasons, that some people get bail, some don't, etc. And it also, like I said, it also favors the rich when it comes to bail in a criminal system, right? But a lot of people just don't understand how this stuff works. And then you can have Johnny saying, "Look at Trump, they're picking on Trump," when that is the furthest thing from reality. So anyway, anything else, Donald, before I jump to Johnny?
Well, he would have been better off going somewhere else and paying more money, but he's the cheapskate that was sleeping with dogs and got fleas. So he had the money to buy high quality ones to get them to go away, because that's what you pay for. It's not for the service, it's for them to leave when they're done. That way it'll rile your women callers up. I'll see you later.
Oh my God. Yeah, you just got in trouble. I'm leaving that alone. Take care, brother Donald. All right. Let's go to Johnny. Good morning, Johnny. How are you doing, sir? This is a mayor of politics tonight. Talk to me, Johnny.
Well, really chilling up until I heard that strident voice from Joe. Every time I hear Joe coming on the air now, in the back of my mind, Jimi Hendrix playing that song. Hey, Joe, where you go with that gun in your hand? Do-do-do-do-do. That's going to be his theme song. You know how Stephanie Miller likes to play theme songs for our guests? We're going to start playing theme songs in our minds for Joe when he comes up on the air with you.
Okay. Hey, Joe, if Johnny is getting you a theme song, Joe, you're popular, dude. Go ahead.
Called a where, filling his pipe up with poo, just like Marjorie Trader Taylor does, and all the Republicans, just crying and thinking that that's going to draw attention to them and make them be heard as if they got something of meaning to say. You want to talk about racism? How about those Tiki Torch guys, huh? Who's creating racism? Me? Egberto? Are you kidding me? What about Netanyahu? What is he doing? You think he's reaching out and building bridges right now? No, he's destroyed a bunch of buildings and bridges. That's what your party, your people, your tribe does, Joe. That's the history of the Republican Party, Joe. And don't tell me that you're the party of Lincoln, because the people who were alive back in Abe Lincoln's day, the people who were against slavery, they called themselves Republicans. But they were my ancestors. They were liberals. The liberals of today call themselves Democrats, progressives, whatever. So don't play that shell game of rewriting history with me. You want to talk about, you want to accuse me and Alberto and people like KPFT of perpetuating racism? We're responding to the racism that's out there. We didn't perpetuate it. You need to wake up, son.
Let me tell you, Johnny, before you go, because there and the reason I take the measured approach that I take with everybody is I'm telling you something that I did before. I locked myself into the right wing sphere because I wanted to experience what it was like to have a different set of information. And I, for a whole week, the only thing I listened to news-wise was Rush Limbaugh. This was several years ago. And I was a member of the coffee party where we try to bring different points of view together and get people talking together. And I did that as an experiment on myself, okay? And let me tell you how effective it is. I thought, I think I'm a pretty, I don't think I'm too dumb. And I listened to Rush Limbaugh for 1 week. And let me tell you, a lot of things, it rewires the brain. I'm not kidding you at all, because it creates that floor that you think is holding you up, right? And then you start to mimic some of those things because the logic goes through that floor that they built. And let me tell you, Johnny, it works. And the only way, and when you heard me talking to Joe, and I made sure and remained again measured, and you heard me say that you have to somehow earn that trust of that other person before anything that you say to go against that floor that was built, folks even give it a thought. And that is where with Politics Done Right and otherwise are coming from. I take a lot of flack from my left flank for doing it, but that is where I think if we're going to make some progress, that is where we have to go. And, again, and I see a lot of us starting to do that right now, even you, I see sometimes are doing that, Johnny. But I just wanted to kind of lay that out there. Go ahead.
Okay, so I understand the power of emotion. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I also listened to Rush Limbaugh, but not as an experiment. I followed his radio program every day, every weekday while at work. And I have both of his books. But the thing is, I still engaged in my brain, and I always questioned what he was saying. And I never agreed with anything he said except for two things. Only two things I agreed with on Rush Limbaugh. Words have meanings, and what was the other thing now? Now my
That's all right, Johnny. I got to go to another caller anyway. But thank you, Johnny. You keep the conversation.
That I will not run for the White House because you have to have your clutch working in the past.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. You have a good one. I'm going to go to Joni and then Augie. So let's go to Joni real quick. I know Joni has to head off to work. So Joni, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Joe.
I'm glad you let Joe on, and I've talked before about we've touched on the golden rule and all the tenets of major religions, and I grew up in the Baptist church, and I learned a few of the verses, and one of them is you reach out to those who would be I'm paraphrasing, those who would be considered your enemy because the heathen can love their own kind. So that's where the treasure is. It's to reach out to those who would normally have been considered your enemy because they disagree with the way you see the world, or have different ends that they're going for, and you allow the discourse. And so you are living up to something we should all try to live up to, and that is to actually listen to the other. We can't move forward until we can actually listen to somebody, and you're doing something that they that side a lot, it has a hard time doing a lot. I know there aren't many stations on AM radio where you can call in and actually speak to someone and get on the air. And so I appreciate what you do and what KPFT does. I just had to get that out there.
Thank you, Joni. Before you go, I just want to say one thing. It's something else that caused me to do a lot of this, right? I preach all of the times that, first of all, we're all in the same boat, whether we realize it or not. Secondly, I preach that it's external forces that cause a lot of the separation among folk, and that it's something external. If I truly believe that, if I honestly believe that, if I honestly don't believe in racism, and I honestly don't believe in any of those things, then it's incumbent on me to, if I allow all those things to come in, I've allowed this force that I talk about that's separating us to win. And I'd be damned if I allow that force to win. So therefore, Joe is my friend.
Yes, and divide and conquer is an age-old tactic, and it works. When they try to, it's easy to fall into that trap, and it's happening every chance they get. And people who have the ability to buy the airwaves, we talk about the liberal media, and I just, okay, I'm progressive. I'm past liberal to the left, and so I can look at KPFT and say that because it allows, and the left will allow. Progressives anyway will allow other perspectives in. It's like that Bob Dylan song. I think he says something to the effect of, "You can be a part of my world. Can I be a part of yours?" They don't allow that in their circles, but maybe because of your example, that will change. Because you're setting a high bar, and hopefully it spreads. And I appreciate what you do because you're allowing the voices of people that are in my own family and my own neighborhood onto the air, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, sister. You have a great day, okay?
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to another great supporter of politics done right. Brother Augie, come on in, brother.
Hey, the thing about Joe, how he said, he's got opinions, yeah, but what about facts and truths? But for him, they don't count for anything. Like Trump, he lacks morality and humanity, and he's calling that racism. No, you're talking about a person, not his race. And talking about the Democrats, they like to sling names like communists. Communists are Trump's best friends. The communist leaders of China, North Korea, and Russia were his best friends. But he's calling us communists, which are Trump's best friends. And Republican, he said the Democratic Party had changed. Republican Party hasn't changed. They tried to overthrow the country in the 30s, and they try to overthrow it again with Trump. And he's talking about 501Cs. Well, yeah, they're not supposed to be political, but the churches are getting political. But they don't say anything about that. And then when Obama got elected, on the very first day, Moscow Mitch told all the Republicans, got them all together, said, for everything Obama wants, let's say no. So for the whole 8 years of Obama, he had Mitch McConnell and Republicans working against everything he did. It's a miracle he got the Affordable Care Act passed and all the stuff he does. And Biden, he tries to help the people. He helps the people on student loans. He helps with infrastructure. He's trying to help us keep Social Security and Medicare. But Republicans don't care.
Let me tell you, Joe. Let me tell you, Augie, because you just said something that I think need reinforcing. Everybody who listens to this show and listen to what I represent know that I am the kind of progressive I am is a Bernie type progressive. In fact, I was a Bernie delegate. But I'm going to tell you straight up, Biden has gotten more progressive policies into law than our most progressive president, in my opinion. Actually, I'm saying in my opinion because I haven't done complete research on all the other presidents, but then anybody after what's his name? Not JFK, Roosevelt. Okay, more progressive and more progressive policies on the books. And you can't argue with that. Yes, he listened to progressives. There are a lot of things that we want that we haven't yet gotten, but we intend to get in a second term if he's elected. But he has done more in getting progressive policies than even Brother Obama, Brother Kennedy, Brother Clinton has done. And I think we have to be cognizant of that. Augie?
Yeah, and we have to be cognizant that it needs help. And it's getting
Right.
close to where in Congress. Now, if we can get the Congress and Senate behind him, we can get a whole lot of stuff passed. And maybe even
Interestingly, we may actually take over Congress before the end of the year. There's a possibility that could occur. It's amazing how bad things are on the other side. But Augie, all 6 lines are now taken. So I got to go, Brother Augie. Thank you so kindly for calling in. And I lost my count, but I think I'm with Joel now. So let's go to Joel. Come on in, Joel. Or Joel. I don't know which one it is. Joel or Joel. Come on in.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Hi, my name's Joel.
Thanks for calling, Joel. Talk to me.
I am a civics teacher. I heard the comment you made a couple of minutes ago about civics,
Yes, sir.
and I just wanted to tell you it's a little hard to teach civics now with the, that state law that was passed a couple of years ago.
Oh,
That
yes.
teachers can stay in the classroom. I've already been written up for it once, very soon after it was passed. And as a result, I have sterilized my curriculum. I'm not willing to risk my job for it. So the kids get nothing but cold and dry instruction. And that's the state legislature.
Well, Joel, I am glad that you made that comment. You've just made a short that I will be putting out there, of course, with your privacy protected, because a lot of people don't understand that the laws that are passed in Texas materially affects the education of their kids. Sadly, they don't. So thank you so kindly for those words, Joel.
I appreciate your call. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day. Let's go to Spike, line number 3. Spike, come on in.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, brother.
Man, I like what that guy just said. The reason they stopped that physics in school is so that they can let the corruptness in government prevail. That's the reason they stopped it. That's the reason this country is the way it is right now. And that other guy that was talking about always want to bring race in it. This whole country's about race. In case he didn't know it, and you ask yourself if in the book of, I believe it's Matthew, because I'm not no Bible thumper, but it explains, says he had hair, wool, brownish, dark feet and stuff. Who is that describing? How come they don't talk about that in church? They don't never talk about that chapter in church, and if one preacher did, he'll be gone. What is the reason? So I mean, man, we gotta wake up and understand what's going on. And like I've always said, man, if we want to survive in this country, man, we gotta come together.
Oh wow! Thank you for bringing that statement right there, Spike. You just nailed it. If we have to come together. All of us have to come together because there is a small force dependent, as Joni said, in separating us, having us fear each other, fighting each other. I appreciate those comments, Spike. Look, my phones are full and I got to move on. I hope you're a constant listener.
Thank you.
And thank you so kindly for calling in, brother. Let's go to Terrence. Terrence, come on in, line number 6. Terrence, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. I want to make a statement about racism.
Go ahead.
And that's it. Racism is as normal and natural as homosexuality. If it's okay to be gay, then it's okay to be racist. Amen.
Do you want to? I don't know what. Oh, he hung up. Okay, I don't.
What?
I need to say this before I go to Johnny and Brian, because that's a profound statement that the brother just said there that I do need to. It needs to have context. Racism and homosexuality are not the same, and I learned this as I grew in starting to learn about others, etc., and expanded my knowledge. Racism is there are parts of racism that is a self is as protect yourself. That's how things that look different you protect yourself against, right? But as society forms and we normalize, those things can be mitigated. Like how I am no longer an homophobe because of the behaviors that the society changed around me. I am no longer a sexist. These are my ills that I suffered. But because of environment and what I could change, it could change. I can't do that if I were, as I learned, if I were a homosexual person. That change doesn't occur because it's not a defense mechanism. It's who my DNA has me as. So I didn't want to leave that in the ethos that somehow you can equate the a racism and homosexuality. Please don't do that. Let's go to Johnny real quick, and then we'll jump to Brian to close the show. Come on in, Johnny.
Hey, real quick, while my clutch plate has caught onto the flywheel, let me tell you that for the immersion, example of immersion is the fact that the oligarchy, if you're listening, the oligarchy right now, they're busy working overtime, not to reach out, but to propagandize. They're going to plunk in a whole bunch of underwriting money to create 800 to 1,000 AM radio stations that program in Espanol. Why do you think they're doing that? And
Oh,
huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You're right. I mean, that, you know what gets me? That too many on the left don't understand that is how. Let me tell you better, okay? I do the show here at KPFT, and then I do an internet show, same Politics Done Right, with different subjects at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I have gotten requests to go right. In other words, I could be paid a lot of money to go ahead and become Politics Done Right and use my right to the right and start pushing the right wing message. And they are willing to pay. There are deep pockets going around this country buying hosts, buying stations, buying all of this to mess with your minds. And I am struggling right now. And all I could say, my values are worth more than the money. Come on in, Johnny.
Hey, that's right. They want you to rename your program Politics Going Right. And they want to try to trick you and Pacifica into maybe doing that kind of a thing because we're supposed to be including everybody. And I say no way. But anyway, Rush Limbaugh said words mean things. And he also said that the military does two things. It kills people and breaks things. And those are the only two things I agree with on Rush Limbaugh. So, Joe, put down the gun and walk away from the gun with the gun in your hand, Joe. Goodbye.
Have a good one, Johnny. Thank you for calling back again. Let's go to Brother Brian. Come on in, Brother Brian.
Okay, I got two things, and they're probably totally different.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter was the one that originally drafted the 50% tax on Social Security. And
Who did?
Ronald Reagan signed it.
Who
Jimmy
did?
Carter.
I didn't know that. I'll have to. Are you sure about that?
Yeah, you can check into it. I believe it was 1979.
Okay, well, I can't argue with that because I remember I thought it was at first I thought it was under Bush or Clinton when the Republicans took over, and then Howard corrected me yesterday and said no, it was under Reagan. It seems like you guys gonna push me to go ahead and look it up now, but go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it originally was drafted under Carter. Now I'm going to have to disagree with Augie. First off, Trump put up a lot of tariffs on all Chinese goods. So he understands fully that the Chinese are not our friends. During the original COVID stages, he canceled all overseas trips from China. He wouldn't allow the Chinese in. At the same time, Nancy Pelosi says, "Oh, he's a xenophobe. He's a racist. Let's have a hot pot party for all our Chinese guests."
Okay.
During the initial stages of COVID.
Let me just say, understanding it the way you do, Brian, understanding the way. Let me first talk about the tariffs, okay? When Trump blasts about putting tariffs on Chinese goods, that wasn't anything that was hurting the Chinese. That was hurting us. Tariffs are a tax on the American people. It's not a tax on the country you're buying stuff from. And like I tell us, we are all indoctrinated into thinking about things in a wrong way. You know what the tariffs did for Trump? It raised money for the coffers in the United States so that the budget deficit created by the tax cuts wouldn't look as bad, because we continue to buy the Chinese products. We just paid more for them because it had a tariff, and that tariff wasn't going to the businessmen. That tariff was going directly to the federal government, which was then returned to the wealthy class in the form of a tax cut. When it comes to how the xenophobia that Nancy spoke about Trump, it's not at all false. I mean, if you take a look at how he talks about the China this and the China that, that was it. But remember what else I talk about, Brian? We talk in races. The common people talk about you black, you Chinese, you this or you whatever. Rich people don't talk that way. Who do you think Oprah will have lunch with, me or Donald Trump? She will have lunch with Donald Trump much faster than she will have with me. When the American people learn the reality of power in this country, then we will understand things. Brian, I'm at a hard fix. You are always welcome as usual. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you, brother. Let's run over to the studio with Brother Howard and Brother Jack.
Very interesting show today, Egberto, without question. Plus, I liked being on it too. And Jack, what you got?
Well, they got to tell lies to the Hispanic too. So that's for the reason for their stations. They got to have their propaganda tools out there for every race, I think.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, you nailed it. You nailed it. But anyway, folks, thank you, listeners. Thank you, callers. And I mean all my callers, left, right, in between, communist, socialist, Democrat, whatever. Love you all. My name is Egberto. Stay tuned for Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Unread, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for the people.